Hi, my name's Rich, and today we're going to talk about the Fathomless Warlock for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. We'll cover any races or feats that might be optimal, we'll cover the abilities, and at the end, we'll give it a ranking on the tier list, comparing it to other Warlock subclasses. So, let's get started with some of the background. You have plunged into a pact with the deeps, an entity of the ocean, the elemental plane of water, or another otherworldly sea now allows you to draw on its thalassic power. It is merely using you to learn about terrestrial realms, or does it want you to open a cosmic floodgate and drown the world? Perhaps you were born into a generational cult that venerates the fathomless and its spawn, or you might have been shipwrecked and on the brink of drowning when the patron's grasp offered you a chance at life. Whatever the reason for your pact, the sea and its unknown depths call to you. Entities of the deep that might empower a warlock include krakens, ancient water elementals, godlike hallucinations streamed into being by kuatur, merfolk demigods, and sea hag covens. To me, this subclass seems like it's heavily inspired by H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu mythos. There is some difference between the Fathomless and the Great Old One Warlock. Thematically, the Great Old Ones are more celestial, otherworldly beings from another dimension, another planet, and are so vast and incomprehensible that the Warlock is siphoning excess power off this vast cosmic being. Whereas with the Fathomless, it's definitely tied to a more nautical theme. There's a lot of sea-based abilities, tentacles, and if you read something like Moby Dick or the Call of Cthulhu books, then I'm sure it'll get you into the mood and get you ready to play this subclass. If this is the first time checking out the channel, then welcome aboard. I do new videos every Monday and Friday. Recently, we've been focusing on the subclasses in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. If you want to check out any of the other reviews, there should be a playlist in the pinned message, or down below in the description. If you'd like to help out the channel monetarily, then we have a Patreon open at the moment, with lots of exclusive content getting released every 2 weeks. This ranges from behind the scenes updates to random encounter tables, maps, and I'm planning to write a subclass in the future. The Fathomless Warlock gets an expanded spell list. It's worth noting that the Warlock gets the option to choose these spells. They don't get the spells automatically like the Cleric or the Druid would get them. At level 1, the Fathomless gets access to Create or Destroy Water and Thunder Wave. Thematically, Create and Destroy Water is essential for this sort of subclass, and Thunder Wave is a great AoE damage spell. The best bit about Thunder Wave is it scales up with the levels you pick as well. With the Warlock getting automatic high-powered spells, the Thunder Wave will scale quite well with it. At level 2, when you gain second level spells, you have access to Silence and Gust of Wind. Silence can be very powerful against rival spellcasters, or you can use it to help bolster your rogue's stealthy abilities. Gust of Wind is good for controlling the battlefield. You can't really do a lot of damage with it, but you can control and direct where you want the enemies to be, providing they fail their saving throw. This is good for protecting spellcasters and weaker members of the party, and if you go for a more ranged build, using the Eldritch Blast for example, you can concentrate on Gust of Wind and make it last for 1 minute. When you gain access to third level spells, you can choose Lightning Bolt or Sleet Storm. Lightning Bolt is the equivalent of Fireball, but instead of having a round area of effect, it has a straight line. It still deals massive damage. The creatures take 8d6 lightning damage on a failed save, and half on a successful one. And this can scale up as well, adding another d6 for each level higher than level 3. It's worth noting it's a dex save as well, so you can use that. When you have a spellcaster, it's good to try and get as many different types of saves as possible. And gaining access to Sleet Storm is also a powerful tool in manipulating the battlefield. If there are a group of creatures, for example a group of orcs shooting you with arrows and spears, you can use the spell to trigger them to make a dexterity saving throw or be prone. Knocking out a group of people in a 40-foot radius and making them all prone opens up your allies to get some melee damage in on them quite easily. With the 4th level spell slots, the Fathomless gets Control Water and Summon Elemental. It's only for water elementals though. This really helps with the nautical theme of the Warlock subclass. The Summon Elemental spell is concentration, but it lasts for 1 hour, so you can use the elemental to do more than just attack. You could use it to help navigate underwater or explore areas. Summoning other creatures can help turn the tide in the action economy. And the other spell, Control Water, is situational. You should be close to a body of water to get the full effect of this spell. But if you're running the Fathomless Warlock, then I'm sure that the campaign you're in would be a certain nautical theme. It would be crazy to run a Fathomless Warlock in the middle of a desert, for example, or in the Underdark. With the 5th level spell slots, you get Bigby's Hand and Cone of Cold. The Bigby's Hand appears as a tentacle, which will tie into your Tentacles of the Deep ability, which we'll talk about later in the video. It does have a 120-foot range, so you can use this to pin down an enemy and then rain eldritch blasts from afar. It's not a sentient creature, but it does have an armor class of 20 and hit points equal to your hit point maximum, so it can wear down over time. And finally, Cone of Cold. It's not a concentration, it's instantaneous. You shoot out in a 60-foot cone and everything makes a con save or takes 8d8 damage on a failed save. Also, creatures killed by this spell become frozen statues. With Cone of Cold, it's a Constitution save, so you have Constitution, Cone of Cold, Dexterity, Lightning Bolt, and Strength in Control Water. Out of the basic races, I would recommend you pick up the Half-Elf or the Tiefling, because they both get a natural boost to Charisma, and the Tiefling is a classic combination with the Warlock, always getting extra spells. If you want to go more advanced, then check out the Yuan-Ti. They get a bonus to Charisma, but they also get magic resistance, giving you advantage on saving throws against spells and other magic effects. Given that the Warlock has such a flexible array of options, you can choose to go many different paths with the Fathomless Warlock. I think that the more ranged damage dealer type is more conducive to the Warlock's abilities, and you could use Pact of the Blade, but that's more of a niche option. For the feats, I would recommend Spell Sniper to really bolster the ranged attacks you are going to be dealing. Elemental Adept is also very flexible. And of course the old classic Warcaster, helping you keep your concentration on your spells. At level 1, you get the ability Tentacle of the Deeps. You can magically summon a spectral tentacle that strikes at your foes. As a bonus action, you create a 10-foot long tentacle at a point you can see within 60 feet of you. The tentacle lasts for 1 minute, or until you use this feature to create another tentacle. When you create the tentacle, you can make a melee spell attack against one creature within 10 feet of it. On a hit, the target takes 1d8 cold damage, and its speed is reduced by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. When you reach the 10th level in the class, the damage increases to 2d8. As a bonus action on your turn, you can move the tentacle up to 30 feet and repeat the attack. You can summon the tentacle a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. The immediate reaction is to compare it to the cleric and their 2nd level spiritual weapon spell. It would technically deal less damage, but the speed reduction can be helpful if you're using a Eldritch Blast build, reducing the speed, making sure you stay away from them and pelting them with ranged attacks. The 1d8 cold damage, it's okay. It doesn't scale up as much as the spiritual weapon, but the main point of this is not to deal raw damage, it's to incapacitate the foes and to slow them down. And it gets even better when we get to level 6, but let's continue the features at level 1 for the moment. I think that summoning the tentacle equal to the proficiency bonus is fair and well balanced. You don't want to be summoning... You can be summoning a tentacle every fight, but it shouldn't be excessive. It is tied to a long rest, so it does slightly go out of sync with the Warlock being able to take short rests and recharge their spell slots. So bear that in mind when you're playing this class. Also at level 1, you get Gift of the Sea. You gain a swimming speed of 40 feet, and you can breathe underwater. Now for a pirate or a nautical themed campaign, then this is a fantastic feature. It's almost a requirement. If you don't have someone that's able to cast the breathe underwater spell, then this is a good substitute. At level 6, you get Oceanic Soul. You are now even more at home in the depths. You gain resistance to cold damage, and in addition, when you are fully submerged, any creature that is also fully submerged can understand your speech, and you can understand theirs. I think this ability is to be able to communicate underwater and not worry about the inconvenience that it may throw up. But you can also mess around with this and be able to, if you get 2 helmets and fill them full of water, theoretically you should be able to talk to any creature. Well, any creature that has a head big enough to fit in the bowl of water. At level 6, you also get Guardian Coil. Your Tentacle of the Deeps can defend you and others, interposing itself between them and harm. When you or a creature that you can see takes damage within 10 feet of the tentacle, you can use your reaction to choose one of those creatures and reduce the damage to the creature by 1d8. When you reach 10th level, the damage reduced by the tentacle increases to 2d8. Once you get the Guardian Coil ability, it really strengthens up the Tentacle of the Deep's ability, being able to defend and attack. And the Guardian Coil takes a reaction, so you can still use your bonus action to attack, your main action to do whatever you need to do. The skill has a lot of potential, and it helps identify the Fathomless as its own class. It's got a very unique flavour. I don't think of any other class that has something quite like this. At level 10, you get Grasping Tentacles. You learn the spell Evard's Black Tentacles. It counts as a Warlock spell for you, but it doesn't count against the number of spells you know. You can also cast it once without a spell slot, and you regain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest. Again, the long rest is coming into account, so bear that in mind when you're using your spell slots up. Whenever you cast this spell, your patron's magic bolsters you, granting you a number of temporary hit points equal to your Warlock level. Moreover, damage can't break your concentration on this spell. Between Evard's Black Tentacles and some of the other spells you get with this subclass, you can definitely use a lot of these different spells and abilities to control the battlefield, and the subclass itself is a great mixture of area of effect spells and, with Lightning Bolt, high damage single target spells. And finally, at level 14, the last unique ability for the Fathomless is Fathomless Plunge. You can magically open temporary conduits to watery destinations. As an action, you can teleport yourself and up to 5 other willing creatures with you that you can see within 30 feet. Amid a whirl of tentacles, you all vanish and then reappear up to 1 mile away in a body of water that you've seen, pond size or larger, or within 30 feet of it, each of you appearing in an unoccupied space within 30 feet of the others. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or a long rest. Getting to use this on a short rest is almost excessive. I think that you can use your imagination and create very distinct scenarios, and as a DM, this opens up a whole world of possibilities, being able to teleport from one location to the other. I'm assuming it has to be on the same plane. It's not mentioned in the text, but as long as it's 1 mile away and it's within a body of water, I don't know what you would classify pond size or larger. Personally, I would go for a pond as a body of water that is 3x3 5-foot tiles. This can be helpful in dungeon crawls as well. If you need to go from one end of the dungeon to the other and there's a body of water, it can help you out in a pinch and help you evade attacks. You can almost use this as a big red emergency button, teleporting everyone out of a potentially deadly encounter, getting to heal up and recuperate before going back into the fray. A lot of the different subclasses for the Warlock have distinct flavours, and the Fathomless is no different. It's greatly suited to any campaign that has a body of water close to it or has a nautical theme. Mechanically, a lot of the abilities are focused on board control, crowd manipulation and dealing damage at range. If you want to get up close and personal in melee, then the Hexblade is more appropriate, and the abilities exclusive to the Fathomless don't have a lot of use in social situations or exploration settings. You can breathe underwater yourself, but you can't get the rest of your party to breathe underwater as well. You'll have to rely on another source of magic for that. I think that the Fathomless is a very situational subclass to pick. Both you and your DM should be aware of if you're going to be able to use all of the abilities when you pick this class. But generally speaking, it's relatively strong. It's not overpowered. It has its uses, and it's very good at those uses, but if you try to do anything else outside of it, then you'll have to be lucky with your dice rolls. Overall, I would say that it's a solid class. Its outstanding feature is the level 1 tentacle you get, which really just comes into full effect at level 6 when you get the Guardian Coil. Dealing the extra damage and a bonus action at low levels is good. It's almost a replacement for Hex in that regard. And it only comes into full effect at level 6. But between levels 1 and 5, it's an okay class. Between 6 and 10, it's fantastic. But once you get past the 10th level, there's not much going on with the class. The Warlock in general is being touted as a subclass or a class that you would dip into for a couple of levels, but to go from level 1 to 20 as a Warlock is a very grueling task. I think Fathomless Plunge is a really flavourful ability, but when you hit level 14, and if you had a druid or a cleric in your party, then there are other sources of teleportation. Thematically it's fantastic, but mechanically it's average. I would give it a solid B+. Well, thanks for watching the video. What do you think about my opinions and comments about the abilities? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments and I'll try to get back to you. If you're interested in supporting the channel, you can leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Every little bit helps. We have a Patreon open, and there's a free Discord if you'd like to join that and continue chatting on a day-by-day basis.